right. Well, I know some of you are probably wondering what happened to the old guy that used to run this course. Well, I'm back. Um, I just wanted to make a couple of quick announcements. I have two things, basically. General comments on the revision, essays, and scores, and then finally a reminder about the reflective discussion, the main goal and purpose that I had in mind for that, and an incentive to fill out the course evaluations. All right. The first thing I need to both commend and apologize. When I first read some of your essays, the first drafts in step one, I made some mistakes on a couple of the essays. I didn't score them low enough. I wasn't critical enough. I missed some problems with references, for example, the authoritative quality of references. I missed some problems that were there in the original essays with evidence, arguments that were being made with, and not explaining well enough. And some essays should have been scored lower than they actually were. So this caused me and you some problems. So you can see this is a terrible apology. It's partly my fault that I didn't catch some of these mistakes early in the process. And so when I went to read the revised essays and saw some of the similar problems that existed and realized that, one, that I didn't make it clear enough in my original critique, or that I missed it, then I was faced with the conundrum of what do I do with the score. I ask a student to revise their essay, and then I want to give them a lower score on the revision. It doesn't really encourage anyone. So I ended up in a couple of instances, it's only been a couple of the cases that the score remained roughly the same or varied by a point or two. And so I apologize to those students for not having perhaps been clear enough in my original readings of your essays. I don't apologize for being extremely critical about your writing. And that applies to everyone in the class. I really have very high expectations at this level in your undergraduate studies doing this kind of research, and so I am applying, the professional standards that you would expect, throughout your undergraduate, as well as some of the expectations that you might anticipate in your graduate careers. And those are best practices of writing, so I don't apologize for that. I know some of you were concerned about your scores, and hopefully that this, I saw some really good revision work, substantive revision work, and in many cases I was able to say these are great essays, go ahead and submit them for final results. Some of you might want to try to add a few points, and my comments are available for you there to do so as well. If you do change your final version of your paper and submit it for a final version, please send me a separate note so that I make sure that I go back and read and I'm aware that you've made these extra changes between the score that you got on your revised score, so that I can also apply that to your final score. Otherwise, I would just assume that you were submitting the same essay again. So thanks for that. All right, enough of that. As far as the discussion, what I'm looking for in this reflective discussion mainly is first this question whether you found it worthwhile to think about advanced technology and what it means to you in your future career in life, and speculating about the possibilities in the future. And perhaps more importantly, what I'm looking for is your help. And if you were asking someone to do a research project like this, how would you ask the question differently, or what would you recommend that they do in order to do this research better? I'd really like to hear your experience so that it can guide me in developing this course further and making it more interesting, easier to accomplish. And so let me know what you think, all right? I would really like to find out. I have a specific question that I had in mind. At the original version of this course, I was looking for a kind of class participation in regards to the iBook readings themselves. And so I'm also interested very much in how you might recommend I approach engaging students in using the iBook as a source in framing their arguments and looking at any kind of practice or idea in terms of its origins, or traditional ways that we think about an idea or a practice, as well as the ethical frameworks that we might consider, and then what we might reasonably expect to learn or to know about these problems and these practices and these ideas. And so I was thinking about portfolios. Is something, an electronic portfolio is something that I'm very familiar with. And I'm wondering if you have any ideas or suggestions or recommendations, software or apps and stuff like this, that might make it easy for a class to create a portfolio on the first readings on origins, and create a separate portfolio on ethics, and a separate portfolio on theories of knowledge. And so I would be very happy to steal your ideas, and I will give you credit for at least a semester or two. Say that many of these ideas came from the preceding class, and so I'll continue to ask this in my courses as well. And it will be sort of a course that's being designed both by my students and me. So once again, thanks. Finally, the last thing I was going to say was on course evaluations. I try to do the reflection about the same time the course evaluations come out. And I want to give you an incentive to make sure I get as many of the course evaluations filled out. If you'll send me the completion notice that you get, that comes back to you in an email once you've filled out the survey link for course evaluations, then I'll add 5 points to your engagement score. You don't have to do anything for your engagement. That is a measure that I fill in myself based on the course analytics that observe how many times you look at readings, your grades, the due dates on the grades when you've submitted, the amount of time you spend in the course looking at material. And so I use that cornucopia of analytics to come up with the final engagement score. And so this is another piece of that. Then I'll increase your score by sending me your completion notice. The survey is anonymous, so all I'm going to see is just the fact that you completed the survey. So please do that. Thanks. Finally, on the Nicomachean Ethics, which is one of the last readings before we go on break, I hope you've enjoyed the opportunity to read about friendships. I love reading stuff. Aristotle reminds me that nothing is new. I don't know if you noticed in the first few passages where he mentions that that old saying, even in Aristotle's time, birds of a feather flock together, right? Who would imagine, this saying that, I heard my mother and my father say, in Aristotle's time, it was an old saying that Aristotle's mother probably reminded him of this. So at any rate, I hope you go home if you're able to and enjoy your friends and your family. Safe travels for those of you who are staying in town. Hope you have friends and enjoy company over this holiday break, and I look forward to seeing you when you return. Bye.